Hey everyone, Jacob Wuwert from National Sports Media Association. I'm here today with Michigan 2020 Sportswriter of the Year, Brendan Quinn. Congratulations on the award, and thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jacob. It's great. I appreciate it, and it's a great honor.
Awesome. How did you get started into the business?
Well, I think first and foremost, always enjoying sports writing as a kid in Philadelphia, reading the Philadelphia Daily News and the Philadelphia Inquirer, and getting my Sports Illustrated on Wednesdays, and just instead of looking for the quick blurb stories, I'd find myself reading Frank DeFord as a young kid and things like that, and Gary Smith and these long takeout stories that I just thought were unbelievable. And while no one could get me to do schoolwork, I was more than happy to, sneak the sports page under the table, and it just always kind of really resonated with me. And then as I got older, I got more into actually writing and kind of the craft of writing, and then going to St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, got a chance to have a great education and some opportunities from a lot of really wonderful people, both in the business and professors of mine at school. And yeah, coming out, I wasn't totally sure if it was actually plausible because I really didn't have any internships or you know, um, any experience working at like a large scale school paper. So it was kind of piecemeal getting into the business, but a ton of people were willing to help, which is always great. And it just kind of took off from there.
Awesome. What do you think separates you from you and your peers?
Oh, well, that's a tough question to answer. Yeah, I think the the thing that I at least set out to do is to meet individuals in sports who um, have a compelling story and then break it down to as much of a human level as possible that um, you or I or my brother or my father or my friends or my golf buddies that they can relate to that person in that situation, whether it's
Mhm.
someone at the highest level who is um, a professional golfer or a very famous basketball coach, Juwan Howard or Dan Hurley or whoever, or if it's someone that's really lesser known, an elite, prodigious young female golfer like Rose Zhang at Stanford, and who a lot of people might not have heard of, but is an actual prodigy, and she's a 19-year-old college golfer who's about to set out in the LPGA. Now, spend 3 days with that person and find out, what's the thing that she and I have in common, and and then that's the root of a story. And in her case, there was a lot of things like inferiority complexes and stuff like that that really I was like, um, that's what hits. I think that's what everyone can understand and know what that feels like. So find those things and tell those stories. A lot of times is those are the ones that I think stick out more than any other.
Awesome. How did you get to where you are right now?
A lot of it is what do they say about good luck? It's when preparation and hard work meet or something like that. I don't know. My father knows it because he's told it to me 1,000 times. But um, look, it's a really tough business. Um, and getting out of school when I did around 2006 and kind of walking into the marketplace that I did with newspapers and then what happened in 2008 in this country, it was really a long grind, and there were years spent basically unemployed and bartending and freelance writing. And um, how did I get to where I am now with um, I think by being a little delusional and thinking like, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out. And if I don't want to try to do anything else, I wasn't going to go back to school and get a post grad degree in something else, or I wasn't going to, just completely punt. And I did at the very end, right before I got a job in Tennessee. I was looking at sports information jobs and things like that, and had kind of come to a hard realization, like, you know what, just, being a journalist might just not be the thing. So, and then from there, I think it's that kind of a degree of resilience. But the other part of it is um, making contacts and friends with a lot of wonderful people who uh, made phone calls, let me list them as references. They made phone calls for me. They always had their ear out to find out about an open job, and they were willing to recommend me, and they were willing to vouch for me and things like that. And it's people from back home, from Dane O'Neill and Mike Jensen and Dick Girardi, and these just, this kind of wonderful group of people who, I don't know why, but they got to know me a little bit when I was like in college, and just have always kind of been there for me. And, without those people, John Akers, Hoops Voice, I mean, I can go on and on and on, that I don't know where I'd be. So, it's one of those deals where now I'm 40 and now I'm the old guy. And, anyone who reaches out, I'm like, let's go. What do you need? Where do you want to go? Let's make it happen, because I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be still behind a bar somewhere if it weren't for those folks.
Awesome. Uh, Kind of similar going on with this past question, like kind of answered my next question. What inspired you to go down this path?
Um, Probably my love of sports as a like as something I connected with as a kid. My father coached at St. Joseph's in Philadelphia as a longtime track and cross country coach and an assistant athletic director. And so I just grew up in it. I grew up in an athletic department at a college, and that was normal to me, just being around athletes and being around sports and kind of having that um, it felt a little bit different being a fan of that school, because like I felt like I was part of it, and that's probably why I was in the end more drawn to writing about collegiate athletics than professional, is because there is that kind of um, almost more tangible connection to the teams of an institution that you feel like you're part of, as opposed to an organization that's owned by some millionaire owner who happens to have their team named after your city. There's kind of a natural disconnect there. But don't get me wrong, I love pro sports, but to answer your question, like why was I drawn to it? It was just love of sports based on my family life, and being in a city like Philly with four teams and just an insane fan base and all the great writers I read growing up. It all just kind of combined into me being like, I don't know of anything else that I could really do.
Awesome. Who do you look up to in the business?
I mean, there's so many colleagues at the Athletic that probably way too many to mention, but Dane O'Neill, who I mentioned earlier, who is a colleague, and we went to the Athletic at the same time. Um, I came up reading Dana, and then getting to know her as a friend. Uh, I've just always respected the hell out of her approach, her her writing ability is off the charts. Her understanding of both the sport and the people in the sport. There's just so many layers to what makes her really good at what she does. So, Dana's really high up there. And in light of not wanting to leave people out, I'll just leave it at Dana.
Awesome. My last question, what is some advice you could give to students or young people like me who want to go into this business?
Never hesitate to contact people, and try to speak to them. People like myself and others, what's an amazing thing about social media today is just how kind of the walls are down, and you can contact people that back in the day, you're maybe hunting down an email address and shooting a cold blind email, and hoping for it. Now, people have their DMs open. You go in there, hey, I'm a young writer. I'd love to just talk to you for half an hour and pick your mind. Like, do that. And then the other one that I always stress to students is to read with purpose. Um, it should almost become unenjoyable to read really good writing when you want to be good at it. And so like in that when you're reading it, you're asking yourself questions. Why is this the lead? Why is this the first quote? And how is this writer using time elements? And how is this writer using transitions? And these things don't just happen, right? Every piece of writing you read are really just a sequence of decisions being made by a writer who has gathered all this information, has to organize it, and then craft it in a pleasing way that goes with pace, rhythm, and flow. And that doesn't just magically happen. So when you're reading it, think of it that way. Look at the sentence lengths, look at the sentence structures, look at the pacing of the paragraphs and things like that. And when you start to read that way, it's like osmosis. You can start to write that way. So, it's not just consuming. It's not like you're going and watching a movie. If you want to do this, that's how you should be reading.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, and I hope to see you in person at the awards this June.
Thanks so much, Jacob.